Hey everybody, I am ice dyeing a couple of shirts today. This is a design that I found from another tie-dyer on YouTube. He calls it the alien spine design. It's a pretty fun design. I've done it a couple of times over the last week and people have really liked it. And so I've had a couple of people actually request it. And so I'm doing a couple more of them and I thought I would show you how it's done. This shirt has been soaked in soda ash and spun out in the washing machine, so it's just slightly damp. It's been turned inside out. And the first step in this fold is to fold the shirt in half. And there's a special way of doing that, and I'm going to show you why. What you do is you take one sleeve and pull it through to the other sleeve. So I've gone into the sleeve. I'm going to grab this sleeve and I'm going to pull it across to the other sleeve. Then I'm going to take the bottom hems of the sleeves and line them up and just get the sleeves kind of even here. Once you have the sleeves together and even, you just kind of give the shirt a little shake. And now you've got the front of the shirt and the front of the shirt together. They make up these two layers here. And so they're going to be consistent as far as the color goes. Because they're right next to each other. So you don't have to worry about the dye moving through other layers as it moves through the front of the shirt. So now I'm just kind of shaking out the wrinkles here. It's really important when you're folding a shirt like this to make sure that you don't have any wrinkles on the inside. Sometimes you can just do that and kind of lay it down, like plop it down on the table, and it'll work. Sometimes it doesn't, and you just have to try it again. Okay, so once we get to this point, then we find the center point of our shirt. I use my handy dandy ruler and I set it. It's usually right under the armpit is about the center point of the shirt. So I'm going to fold this up and bring the bottom hem of the shirt up to the top of the neckline there. So just like that. I'm going to pull this down with the ruler. Okay, we've got the sleeve hanging off here. I've got a little bit of overlap here, but we're just going to leave that. That'll work itself into the fold as we fold this up. So now that I have it here, I'm going to mark off some spots just to help guide me as I fold this shirt. So I've got it marked off here. And I'm going to do an accordion fold on this, but I'm going to do it at an angle. We're going to line it up along this bottom edge, and you'll see kind of the design that we're going to get, or the pattern and the folds that we're going to get as I do that. Okay, this looks pretty good. As you can see, the bottom edge here is flush. I'm going to put a couple of rubber bands around this just to hold it in place so that I can move it around without messing up the folds. So now that I've got these folds kind of where I want them, now I'll actually tie this up. And I'm going to use kite string to do that. I'm going to start on the leading edge down here, right inside that shortest fold. So I'm going to go about here. And I'm just going to pull it kind of tight. And with kite string, it's kind of cool because it makes a little creaking sound when you pull it tight. And you know that you're getting some resistance there. So that little sound tells me that I am good on my tension there. So I'm going to go at an angle here, and I'm just going to, every couple of inches, pull this kind of tight, but not super tight because I don't want to lose the form of the pleats. So that's what I'm doing here. Once I get back up here to my starting point, I'll cut this off and tie it off. All right. So this is all ready to go. Again, this side is consistent and even. This side is just a little bit staggered. You can see the staggered fold here. This is the sleeve. This is the top of the shirt and the leading edge of the shirt where it's folded in half. So it's time to put some dye on these shirts. Anytime that you're working with dye powder, whether you're mixing dyes for liquid tie dyeing or sprinkling dyes on a shirt, you should always wear a mask because the dye powder is very fine and you really don't want to inhale this. Your lungs will thank you if you wear a mask. So I'm going to be putting a mask on. I also have some soda ash powder here. Even though these shirts have been soaked in soda ash water, I am going to use the soda ash powder and just sprinkle that on first just to help the dyes bond with the fabric. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so as I was putting the dye on, my phone decided to stop recording. So obviously I need to clear some stuff out of my phone, but here's where we're at. I've got the dye sprinkled on the shirts and I've got soda ash powder put on top of the dye. We're gonna get some ice on these and get some foil around them so that they can batch. All right, the ice is on the shirts and it has already started to melt. So we will let them sit here like this. We're gonna crank the heat up in this room and let the ice melt and let the shirts sit for about 2 days. And then we will rinse them out and see how they look. Hey everybody, I thought I'd get you a sneak peek at what's going on with the shirts this morning. So all of the ice melted overnight. The shirts have been sitting for about 16 hours since I put the ice on them, maybe 17 hours. So they've still got 30 hours to go. It's going to be tomorrow night before I rinse them out. But I've taken the foil away and the clothespins, and this is what they look like now that the ice has melted and they're just sitting, and we're just giving it time for the dye to bond with the fabric so that when I rinse it out, the dye doesn't all rinse out as well. So this is the hardest part, it's just waiting. By the time I rinse these, I'm just giddy with excitement. I can't wait to rinse them and unfold them and see what they look like. It's like Christmas every time I do this. And anyhow, that's where we're at. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will be back tomorrow night with a rinse and reveal. It's been 48 hours since I put the dye and the ice on these shirts, so it is time to rinse them out and see how they look. I start rinsing the shirt in cold water to get rid of any undissolved dye and soda ash that might still be in the shirt. After that, I switch the water to warm, almost hot, and I untie the shirt while I continue to rinse it and squeeze out any excess dye until the water runs clear. This can sometimes take a little while. It just depends on how much dye is in the shirt. For the second shirt, there was a lot of blue in this, so it did take a little bit longer to get all of the excess dye out of it. But again, I just keep rinsing and rinsing and rinsing until the water runs clear, and then I know that I'm ready to move on to the next step. Once the water is running clear out of the shirts, I fill the sink with very hot soapy water, and I put the shirts into that and let them sit for about 20 to 30 minutes. This will remove any excess dye that's in the shirts that hasn't bonded to the fabric, and it will prevent it from transferring to other items in the wash. After this, I'll run them through a regular wash cycle using regular laundry detergent, and then I'll put them into the dryer and dry them until they're just barely damp. So that's what I'm going to do now, and I will be back to show you the final results. Okay, here is the first of the two shirts that I dyed. This shirt just had black dye put on it. So this is a great example of color splitting. If you look closely at the shirt, you can see that even though black dye is the only color that was used, there are blues and purples and some browns in here. Those are the colors that make up the black dye. So it's one of the things that people who do a lot of ice dyeing love, is that you can put one color dye on a shirt and it'll split into all of these different hues and colors and give you some really cool effects. So there's the first one. Let's take a look at the other one. Okay, here's the second shirt from this batch. On this shirt, I used black, strong navy, and cobalt blue. And again, there was some color splitting that took place. I did not use any purple dye in this shirt, but there is some purple here, and that's from the black splitting and probably the strong navy splitting and blending together. So it's kind of cool that I used three colors on this shirt, but I got lots of different hues and tones. And I think the design came out really great. I think the symmetry on the front from side to side is really good. Overall, I'm super happy with both of these shirts. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll see you next time.